of the hidden one that I didn't know about. Don't stay in Sydney. Very angry about this. This is going to be quite different to my usual YouTube video, just because I've had quite a few people asking about moving to Australia, how you do it, any tips and things. So I thought I'd make this YouTube video to get you off my dick, really. No, I'm just kidding. I actually thrive off people asking me this because it's all I've got going for me right now. I wish I was joking. I don't even know who these cats are. That being said, I've got my green tea. Yes, I've reused this tea bag 3 times now, don't judge me. Let's get into the 8 tips I have for moving to Sydney. Tip number 1, join the Facebook page Irish Around Sydney. I'm going to include a picture of it up here because there are a few, but this one has like I think it's over 120,000 people in it, and you will get everything there. That's actually where I got my flat from, and I also found my job on Irish Around Sydney, so I have a lot to be grateful for with this page. The Irish will probably kill me for saying this, but as you can probably tell, I'm not Irish, so you don't need to be Irish to be on this page. But the chances are, if you're moving to Sydney, you probably are Irish because everyone there is Irish. So yeah, join the Facebook page. It's like your number 1 go-to. Tip number 2, save more than you think you'll need. I say this because I went over already having a flat sorted, already having a job lined up, but for that first week when I wasn't working, I stayed in a hostel a couple of nights, and I think it was $100 a night. But that first week without a job, I spent $1,300, and I'm not a spender. I wasn't out, I wasn't drinking. It's just how much you need to get by. You'll still need to pay your first week's rent up front, and you'll also need to pay a bond if you do get a flat. But it is notoriously hard to get a job and a flat in Sydney at the moment. I say at the moment, I have never heard that it's easy to get one over there. Just be prepared, you might be forking out a lot for hostels, and you're probably not gonna get a job straight away, unless you're lucky. I was very lucky. But as soon as you join that Irish Around Sydney, you'll see how many people are struggling to find work and having to go home. So just make sure you have that cushion before you come over. Tip number 3, I would suggest getting the Opal app downloaded. So for anyone from London, your Opal card is basically like an Oyster card, so you don't actually need to have an Opal card. You can just use your card, which most people do. But the app is a godsend because the transport in Sydney is really, really good. They've got trains, buses. I'm sure they call it a metro. They have loads of different types of transport, so wherever you want to go, the Opal app will sort you out. I relied heavily on the Opal app the whole time I was there. It's so easy to get around Sydney. That being said, know where you're going when you get to the airport, or at least if you have friends picking you up, then just completely ignore this one. But I arrived at the airport thinking, oh, I'll just get on Wi-Fi and like work out. There was no Wi-Fi in this airport. I don't know why. Very angry about this. You know when your parents used to print out instructions? Yeah, I did that. And I'm glad that I did, because when I got to the airport, it was nighttime. I couldn't get any Wi-Fi. I kind of knew where I was going because I was staying at Wake Up Bondi. So I managed to work out the train and stuff there. But then when I was on the bus getting to the actual hostel, which is when my printed instructions came in handy, I was thinking, how do I know when to get off this bus? So know where you're going, because the airport doesn't have fucking Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if that's changed now. It should be changed now. It's horrendous. Not even Madonna's Wi-Fi worked. This one's kind of more for the girls, but join Facebook groups. Specifically, Sydney Working Holiday Girls was a godsend for me. I moved over by myself, and this Instagram page just puts on all these events. There's so much to do around Sydney that you wouldn't really do by yourself because it involves going out of Sydney on a day trip. And when you don't have any friends or no other people to go with, it's such a good way to make friends. So I made quite a few friends when I went on these day trips, and it was things like dolphin spotting, surfing in sand dunes, and some really memorable experiences as well. So they basically organise these events and they'll post on their Instagram page, and it will have all the things that are involved in it and the price, and then you just get to the meeting point and you have a fun day trip. There's also another Facebook page for girls called Bondi Beach Babes, which I think they do the same kind of thing. I was a member. It might just be more like a community for people, for meetups or to meet other people. Either way, I think it's really great to do because everyone's in the same boat as well. A lot of people do come over with their friends, and some people do go on the trips with their friends, but the majority of people go solo and it's just really nice. So I'd recommend that one. This is a bit of a hidden one that I didn't know about, but if you have just been to Southeast Asia, and I mean like in the past, I think 5 years, or if you're coming straight from there, you're gonna need a medical check from a private hospital. So when I applied for my visa, you have to select the countries you've been to, and I don't think it's every country in Southeast Asia, and I don't even know which country it is. Is it Laos? I'm not sure. But I don't think it's every country in Southeast Asia, but there are certain countries that if you've been to, they won't approve your visa until you've had this medical examination. So this medical examination costs £250 and you can only do it at specific private hospitals. And it's actually really excessive. The list of things I got checked was interesting. I had to have a chest x-ray, I had to give a urine sample, I had to have an eye test, I had to be examined. What else? There were a few things. I mean, it's good to have an MOT every now and then, so I suppose. If you're in a rush to go over and you think you can get it approved and then go straight away, that might not be the case if you've been to Southeast Asia. Interestingly enough, I think it's only the case if you're applying for the work and holiday visa. If you're going on holiday, I don't think they ask for it, which is a bit backwards. Because if you're bringing it over, you're gonna bring it over. But you know, we actually met some people on one of the day trips that we did, and they had come directly from Southeast Asia. So when they applied for their visa, they made them do it at a private hospital in Singapore, I think. I don't know if that was more or less, but you can obviously come direct from Southeast Asia. But again, don't book your flights unless you've got that visa approved, because they're gonna want you to do this, unfortunately. Tip number 7 is if you're coming to Sydney, don't stay in Sydney. I mean, don't stay in Sydney for a whole year and not explore the rest of Australia. At least the East Coast, you have to do it. If you're coming all this way and you're not seeing the other places, I can't help you. It's so easy because it's all domestic flights. If you did just want to do weekends here, weekends there, yada yada. But what I'd recommend is definitely doing an East Coast trip, because a lot of people do the same route, so you'll meet other people on the same route. And it's just a better experience, I personally think. You basically have 2 options. You can do it yourself, maybe hiring a camper van or a car with friends that you've met, or you can do it with the Greyhound bus. So the Greyhound bus is like an overnight bus that drives you and to each stop. Which one you go for really depends on what you're looking to get out of the trip. So I personally did the camper van option with my boyfriend because I couldn't be bothered to make friends, really, wasn't it? No, I did the camper van option because I'd done the hostel thing in Asia. When I got to sit, I was done with hostels, if I'm honest. And I thought, you know, it's a different experience doing it in a camper van. Like, how often do you live out of a van? So we did a camper van, and I think the main selling points for that is obviously you're on your own time scale. You can go off the beaten tracks. We saw a lot of wildlife. We met a lot of locals that we wouldn't have done if we were on the Greyhound. In fact, the people that we did meet up that had done the Greyhound hadn't seen a single snake, a single spider. We'd seen loads, which isn't always a good thing when it's in your home, but it was an experience and it was authentic. I'd really recommend doing that if you don't care about making friends. But if you're more of the social kind and you want a bit of a party, maybe do the Greyhound. So the Greyhound is obviously good because people just do the same path, whether it's up or down. So the different hostels you stay in, you're bound to keep meeting up with the same people here and there, which is really, really lovely. That is actually one thing we kind of felt we missed out on a little bit by doing the van, is that we didn't make that. We made friends on our trips, but we didn't exactly have those bonds that we saw a lot of people make in the hostels, which actually leads me on to my next point. Tip number 8, if you are going to be doing the East Coast, book your trips in advance. Even the camper van, book that in advance, because I left it to the last minute and we almost didn't have a camper van. Especially the Gari trip, that's Fraser Island. That gets booked up so far in advance, and it was our favourite part of the trip, so you don't want to miss that. So book things in advance. I hope that is helpful. I could probably give some more tips, but I said 8 and I am sick of my own face at this point. So one last bonus tip I do actually have, and if you get the working holiday visa for Australia, don't leave. Why did I come back? Unsure why I did this, but I'm regretting it. So jokes aside, if there are any other questions, I will happily oblige if you want to ask them in the comments, because I'm currently unemployed, might as well give back to the people. Tip number 3, I would suggest getting an opal card. No, I wouldn't. So for me, why can't I speak? Ooh, excuse me. Wildlife is... What am I trying to say here? If you've made it to the end of this video, fuck